Rise with India podcast on ET Now.
Good morning and thanks for listening in. This is the Daily Morning Update from ET Now and I'm Alex Matthew. Today is the 20th of July. Roiling markets globally is the top headline we have for you this morning. Fears of the persistence of the Delta variant of Covid-19 and its impact on global economic growth led a sharp sell-off in risk assets and a migration into safe havens. In the US, commodity, financial and industrial shares led losses on the S&P 500, which fell the most in 2 months, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell over 2%. At the same time, yields of treasuries crashed, with long-term rates falling to their lowest since February. The yields on the 10-year benchmark treasury fell by 12 basis points to as little as 1.17%, and the dollar also rose. In Asia this morning, the early risers have opened with cuts, but they're not as sharp as those seen on Wall Street. In India too, remember, we already saw a sell-off in yesterday's session. Rohit will tell you more in the trade setup. Crude prices have also fallen sharply after the accord between the UAE and Saudi Arabia, which paves the way for higher oil production in the coming months. As of this morning, Brent crude was trading just above $69 to the barrel, down from over $72 yesterday. Business activity in India witnessed a gradual V-shaped recovery in June from the low seen in May, based on data released so far, according to brokerage firm Nomura. However, the third wave of Covid-19 remained a key risk to economic recovery, with a slowing vaccination pace and increased mobility in July, the firm said in its latest note on Monday. The Supreme Court of India has reserved its order on the plea by telecom companies seeking permission to request the government to correct statutory dues stemming from the expanded definition of adjusted gross revenue. Vodafone Idea, Tata Teleservices and Bharti Airtel are among the operators that have informed the court that there were certain arithmetical errors in the Department of Telecommunications assessment of dues payable by the carriers. The National Company Law Appellate Tribunal has stayed Vedanta Group's winning bid for the debt-laden Videocon Industries after an appeal by dissenting creditors who were unhappy with the value realized through the resolution. A 2-judge bench headed by officiating NCLAT Chairman Ashok Iqbal Singh Cheema has stayed the implementation of the resolution plan and adjourned the matter to the 7th of September, till which date the company will be continued to be managed by the resolution professional. In more international news, the US, UK and their allies have formally attributed the Microsoft Exchange hack to actors affiliated with the Chinese government and accused Beijing's leadership of a broad array of malicious cyber activities, escalating last week's tensions between the White House and China. The group of nations said that the Chinese government has been the mastermind behind a series of malicious ransomware, data theft and cyber espionage attacks against public and private entities, including the Microsoft Exchange hack earlier this year. And with that, it's over to Rohit Singh for the trade setup for the day in India. Morning, Rohit. How are we looking today?
Good morning, Alex. We are staring at a global panic sell-off which was partly visible in the yesterday's second half of the session. The fear of Delta variant getting rampant has instilled an element of doubt in the minds of Wall Street investors. As a result, the Dow fell 2% to its steepest cut since October. US oil prices slipped as much as 8% to sub-$70 levels, clocking their worst day since September. The bond yields are at a fresh 5-month low. The US has warned Americans not to travel to the UK. COVID cases are especially seeing a sharp rise in Britain, the Netherlands and Spain, where vaccinations have been high. We will need to wait for more clarity on this trend if it has also resulted in more deaths, because that could stabilize world markets even more. Back home, despite yesterday's big fall, we are still within the range that has been holding up in the recent times. We have possibly slipped back into a range of consolidation, but any further weakness should be closely monitored. The panic on the street has fired up the measure of volatility, which was up almost 8% but still quite low. On options front, the upper end of the range seems to be shifting lower to 15,800. HDFC Bank was the biggest drag on Sensex as the street expressed its displeasure over results. Today, we will track the reaction to another heavyweight, Bajaj Finance. Domestic investors tried to offset the foreign selling once again. FIIs sold shares worth about 2,200 crore rupees, while DIIs net bought shares worth about 1,000 crore rupees. Let's tell you about the active stocks this morning. HCL Tech has retained FY22 double-digit growth guidance. It reported 10% growth on Q1 net. Shiv Nadar will also be stepping down from the HCL board. Street will be closely tracking the Bajaj Finance Q1 numbers today. Cement major ACC has almost doubled profit at 534 crore rupees and margins too have come in higher than last year. Comments by MOS Finance confirming that Adani Group stocks are facing regulatory probe also dampened the outlook for the pack. IndusInd Bank will consider fundraising at the July 23rd board meet. City Union Bank has approved raising capital through a QIP of 500 crore rupees. The Economic Times is reporting that Reliance Retail plans to open about 5,000 outlets that will be convenience stores, pharmacy, diagnostic centers, telecom and financial service provider outlets, all rolled into one. To recap, the global risk-off mode changes the setup back at home. We'll need to track how soon the sentiment steadies overseas and how the street responds to crucial results. Thank you for listening in. It's back to you, Alex.
Thanks, Rohit. And as always, thank you all for listening in. This is Alex Matthews signing off. Have a great day.
The Rise with India podcast on ET Now.